Goku began walking toward the door, his steps steady. I've slept more than enough. There's something I need to finish. Suddenly, Bulma shouted after him, "Goku, wait! I have something important for you." She fetched the 2 spheres Zardok had left behind, cradling them carefully, then told Goku everything that had happened, from the moment Gohan and Zardok arrived at her lab, to the words Zardok had spoken, to the moment she received the spheres into her own trembling hands. She left nothing out. On the other side of the universe, silence reigned over the foundation of the gigantic palace. Zeno's father had awakened, and anyone who dared look at his face was instantly transformed into a statue of gold, before disintegrating into dust and vanishing. Terror cut like a dagger through everyone's chest. Even the Grand Minister lowered his gaze, refusing to meet the eyes upon the throne. Then suddenly, in the midst of this terrifying silence, a thundering laugh shook the walls. Everyone turned in shock to find Bardock standing completely fearless, still bound by the celestial ring, yet smiling with pure sarcasm, as though the chains were nothing, as though the golden god upon the throne were nothing. "The creature you awakened to protect you killed half of your own people, and he hasn't even stood up yet." The Grand Minister's expression shifted. In a fraction of a second, he vanished from his spot and reappeared right in front of Bardock, his hand closing around the Saiyan's neck with a force that shattered the surrounding air, the pressure cracking outward from the point of contact. "You are nothing but a miserable Saiyan. How dare you mock your superiors? Tell me, where did you get this audacity? I only kept you alive as a pawn to lure them here. Fine, I've had enough of you. Your role is over, and now I am going to..." But before he could finish, a wave of unknown energy surged through the palace floor, shaking the giant's throne for the very first time. Shards of ice flew everywhere, torn loose from the melting walls, and space itself tore open around them, ripping along a seam that had not existed a moment before. A bolt of celestial lightning struck the Grand Minister directly, full in the chest. With a muffled cry, blood splattered through the air, and the Grand Minister crashed to the ground, bleeding from his mouth and unable to stand. Everyone's eyes widened as if they were about to pop out of their sockets, the impossible unfolding before them. What is this light? This is no ordinary light. It's devouring the darkness. The sky has ripped open. Something is descending toward us. I can't breathe. Is it a living being or a new sun? The Grand Minister lay on the ground, writhing in pain, the blood dripping from his mouth and staining the golden glass beneath him. He raised his head with great difficulty, his voice broken and gasping, the authority gone out of it. "My children, run! Flee now!" But suddenly, the white-winged creature flapped its wings just once. What happened next felt like the end of an entire era. The air shifted, the void itself contracted, drawing inward, and the surface of the cosmic palace transformed into exploding energy. A celestial vortex formed instantly at the heart of it, and its suction force was monstrous and terrifying, folding the glass sky onto itself and twisting space like a sheet of paper crushed in a fist. Most of the angels, the weak, the average, and even some of the powerful ones were sucked into the center of the vortex, their bodies screaming before disintegrating into luminous dust that spiraled into the dark. Only the most powerful angels remained standing, struggling to survive the cosmic shards unleashed by the explosion, each fragment capable of destroying a planet on its own. The Grand Minister slammed his hand into the ground, releasing an energy that anchored him in place against the pole. Illyra brandished her staff and struck the floor, creating a gigantic wall of ice to protect Zeno and his father, who sat upon his throne untroubled, while she encased herself within a barrier of ice. On the other side of the palace, a kilometer away, Whis, Bardock, and the frozen glass statue that was Vegeta found themselves clear of the explosion, untouched by the destruction that raged around them. They were surrounded by an unknown glow, an energy no one knew the origin of. how it had formed around them, or how it had gathered them all in the same spot, sparing them from a force that had erased thousands. GUYzzzz looked into the distance and whispered, "Wait, is that really?" Zardok stood there, completely shocked, his chains forgotten, and from the center of the chaos he appeared. But this was not the Goku anyone knew. Luminous white wings stretched from his back like blades of light, spread wide against the ruin behind him. He wore royal, pure white armor radiating absolute majesty, with golden lines pulsing across his body like living energy moving through veins of light. His eyes were no longer those of a Saiyan, but of a celestial being whose wrath had finally awakened after a long, terrible sleep. The aura surrounding him could reduce dust to ashes without even touching it, the air dying wherever it reached. As everyone struggled to get up, utterly paralyzed by shock, they felt a colossal shadow shifting right behind Goku, vast and deliberate. Then, stepping forward with heavy strides, a figure appeared with eyes that gleamed with a power capable of piercing the very soul. It was he who had protected Zardok, GUYzzzz, and the statue of Vegeta with his strength, he who had gathered them clear of the vortex. For the first time, Elira's eyes widened in sheer astonishment. She whispered in a muffled voice, It's the real Zardok." As for Zeno, his entire body trembled despite his desperate efforts to remain calm, the composure cracking and falling away from him. Goku stood right in front of Zeno's father, his aura melting the remaining ice like hot wax, the frozen world running to water around his feet. The Grand Minister lay bleeding on the ground, and the entire palace was on the verge of collapsing under the sheer pressure of the powers gathered within it. Goku began to move. He wasn't running, nor was he flying. He was simply walking. Yet every single step shattered the ground beneath him as if it were nothing but fragile glass, the floor breaking apart under each footfall. Everyone backed away in fear, retreating before his advance. Even the most powerful of the angels swallowed hard in silence. He walked straight towards the Grand Minister, as if he had known his path from the very beginning, as if nothing in the cosmos could turn him from it. Terrified, Zeno raised his hand, and the terrifying white energy of his absolute erasure ability gathered around him, blazing brighter than anything in the ruined hall. He screamed, "Total erasure!" The energy wave surged forward and vanished into thin air before it even touched Goku. It disappeared as if it had never existed, swallowed by nothing, leaving not a trace. Zeno's face froze. His eyes widened into an expression of pure, unadulterated terror, the last of his certainty draining away. The surviving angels couldn't believe what they had just witnessed, the impossible repeating itself before them. Even Elira's eyes widened for a brief moment. Goku didn't stop until he came to a halt right behind the Grand Minister. He lowered his head slightly, and the sound of his footsteps on the rubble echoed like the whistle of death itself, the only sound in the silent hall. Then he raised his foot and slammed the Grand Minister's head into the ground with a force that shattered the floor beneath his body, the golden glass splintering outward. One stump, then another. Goku crushed him without an ounce of mercy, trampling him as if purifying the place of a millennia-old sin. Everyone in the palace was screaming internally, the horror trapped in their throats, but no one dared to make a sound. Goku spoke in a low voice that carried the wrath of thousands of years. "You think you're the only one who knows suffering? You think my exile to the Dark Fortress was just a punishment?" He brought his mouth close to the Grand Minister, his voice morphing into that of a monster emerging from hell. "I tasted hell back there. I tasted the pain that you created with your own hands. And now it's your turn to listen." With that, he hurled him to the ground with a force that completely shattered his body, the impact rolling through the hall. In a flash, Goku vanished and reappeared right next to the Grand Minister's head, delivering a devastating strike that launched his body into the air before smashing him down repeatedly again and again, each blow louder than the last. All of this unfolded right before the eyes of the angels. Wordless, paralyzed, and stripped of their courage, they could only watch as Goku resembled an ancient soul fueled by agony, purifying himself through it. The Grand Minister tried to speak, tried to scream, but his voice was completely broken, nothing emerging but ragged breath. At that exact moment, Goku looked behind him and noticed the petrified Vegeta, the perfect ice statue, the face frozen in terror. His wrath surged anew, rising hotter than before. He approached the Grand Minister, placed his foot directly over his mouth, and pressed down hard. A sickening, crushing sound echoed through the hall, forcing some of the angels to back away, screaming in silence, their hands rising to their faces. Goku spoke, applying even more pressure with the word. "Speak up. Were you the one who did this to Vegeta? Come on, nothing to say?" He leaned in even closer, his voice turning darker as he pressed down with monstrous force. The Grand Minister gasped in a muffled cry as blood splattered from his mouth. Everyone present felt a deep primal fear, not because of the eternal ruler sitting on the throne, nor because of the cosmic storm that had wiped out half the angels, but because of Goku. They feared his gaze. They feared the wrath radiating from his body along with the golden light, the chilling silence he kept while unleashing this torment, and the sheer malice in his voice when he chose to speak. No one, not Zeno, nor the Grand Minister's own children, dared to take a single step. In this very moment, Goku was more dangerous than any entity that had ever emerged in the history of the cosmos. He slowly raised his head and locked his gaze onto the golden throne. The eternal being, still motionless, sat silently on his golden seat. Their eyes met. Suddenly, the entire palace froze dead. The light ceased. The air stopped moving. Every heart skipped a beat. While everyone else trembled, Illyra was the only one who remained completely still, her eyes half closed with a cold smile, a smile that concealed something far greater than anyone could possibly imagine. Below, miles away from the palace, what was happening to the angels was nothing short of catastrophic. We never could have imagined his power would reach such a level. Stand up. We must keep going. We are not allowed to fall. Is that all you've got? Pathetic. That smile is about to vanish from your face. We finish this here. You've pushed past your limits. And while Goku advanced step by step, never breaking eye contact with the throne, the one thing that wasn't supposed to happen, happened. For the very first time, that ancient being stood up from his seat. A single movement, yet it was enough to transform the entire palace. Suddenly, an immeasurable storm swept through the hall, a tempest so intense it shook the ground as if it were melting away beneath the force. Illyra shielded Zeno with her arm, pulling him back using her energy, dragging him clear. As for the weaker angels, their pressure completely overwhelmed their limits. Their bodies exploded into pieces before they could even comprehend what was happening to them. For a brief moment, absolute silence reigned. For the first time since entering the palace, Goku's heart began to beat violently against his chest. It beat out of fear. Not the fear of dying, but the fear of something he couldn't even explain. A force completely unlike anything he had ever faced before. Something that touched a part of him that had never been touched. And when he raised his eyes towards Xeno's father, the unthinkable occurred. Goku's body began to turn to stone. His skin transformed into gold, the color climbing across him. His fingers stiffened, locking in place, and his face started disappearing beneath the gleaming golden layer that spread upward. He could no longer move or breathe. He was becoming a lifeless statue, the change taking him in silence. But then a heavy hand gripped his shoulder. In a terrifyingly tense silence, the petrification began to recede, the gold fading away, little by little, retreating from his face and his hands until it vanished completely, leaving him whole. Goku looked up and found himself facing Zardok. He couldn't understand how his position had shifted, how he had been moved, but he knew perfectly well that he had just been saved from certain death. Zardok simply spoke in a calm voice, yet it carried an indescribable threat within its calm. "You do not have the right to look at him. This creature is never defeated." Goku was still trembling, unable to believe what had just transpired. How did I end up back here? What did... Zardok dot him off with a short laugh. "You lowered your guard, and your true opponent was standing right behind me, waiting for you this whole time." At that exact moment, the Grand Palace shook once more. The Grand Minister appeared behind Goku, more furious than he had ever been in all history, risen again from the ruin Goku had made of him. His eyes flared with a brilliant purple light. He slowly removed his celestial robes, and a terrifying purple aura exploded around him, like energy born from the depths of primeval chaos, rolling outward and devouring everything it touched. He spoke in a low voice, every single word vibrating through the palace walls.
"These celestial robes were limiting my true power." No, Father, it's impossible. Are you really going to do this now?" One of the children stammered, the words breaking apart. "They were holding me back," the Grand Minister continued, unmoved. "Rejoice, Goku, for you will be the first to witness just 50% of my true power." The palace began to tear apart as the purple aura consumed the golden light, the two radiances warring across the hall. Goku laughed. "Are you serious? Very well then. So you were hiding all this power. I guess the real fight starts now." Meanwhile, the living nightmare finally stepped away from his throne, and it appeared to have chosen its victim itself, its gaze settling with terrible purpose. As the aftershocks of the explosion settled, Goku remained suspended in midair, his body enveloped in a royal white light, his breathing perfectly calm despite everything. Opposite him, the Grand Minister advanced slowly, his purple aura devouring the void around him, swallowing the light wherever it spread. It was only 50% of his power, yet the clash of a single punch with Goku shook the entire golden world, the shockwave rolling out to its farthest edges. The Grand Minister spoke in a calm tone, but his voice was as deadly as poison. "Look around you, Goku. Do you see these ruins everywhere? This is the price of the Saiyan's existence in this world." Goku clenched his fist, the glass floor cracking beneath his feet, splinters spreading from where he stood. "The price? You're the ones who started all of this. You exiled the Saiyan race, tortured us, massacred us. You used Frieza, born of our blood, to destroy planet Vegeta. I only found out recently." He paused, the weight of it pressing him, then shouted, "But why did you let me live? Why didn't you kill me when I was just a child?" Suddenly, the Grand Minister drew closer and vanished from his spot.
Goku couldn't block the lightning-fast attack. In an instant, a deafening impact erupted, sending a massive shockwave across the entire battlefield. He was launched backward for hundreds of yards before crashing into a wall of frozen debris. Even the angels were stunned. Zeno instinctively covered his mouth with his hand. The Grand Priest looked toward the spot where Goku had fallen and said, "We didn't even know you existed.
How could we possibly notice the life of an insect living on a tiny planet? But when you grew stronger and Lord Zeno saw you during the Tournament of Power, he was impressed by your courage and allowed you to live. His voice turned colder. And now, look at what you've done, you bastard. Zardok, Vegeta, and all of you, your very existence is a flaw in the balance of this universe. One of the angels stepped back, whispering to another, "This power, it's not something that should exist on the mortal plane." The other angel replied, "Lord Grand Priest has never shown this side of himself before, not even during the Xeno Wars." Time seemed to slow down. Even the air itself stood still. Goku pulled himself out of the frozen debris, his knees shaking but his eyes burning brighter than before. Blood trickled down his forehead, yet he forced a grim smile. "You talk about balance, but you never once asked what we wanted. You just decided our fate like we were nothing." The Grand Priest tilted his head slightly. "Fate is something insects get to question." Goku charged forward, cutting through the wind as if he had wings. His fist shot straight towards the Grand Priest's face, but the Grand Priest caught it effortlessly with one hand. A cold smile spread across his face. "My turn has come. That's why I will kill every Saiyan on Earth. You are a threat that must be erased."
Goku's face twisted with rage as he pushed harder against the Grand Priest's grip. "You talk about balance? You're the one who tried to kill my father simply because he wanted to see me. A father who only wanted to see his son. And you're the one who made me scream and suffer inside the dark fortress until I forgot who I was." The Grand Priest's grip tightened, cracking the air around Goku's fist. "Your father's death was a mercy compared to what awaits you." "Don't you dare call that mercy," Goku snarled. "You don't know what mercy means. You've never lost anything. You've never had to watch the people you love disappear because someone decided they were a flaw." Goku broke free from the Grand Priest's grip and attacked again. "Are you ready to meet your end?" The Grand Priest casually deflected the attack with the back of his hand and smirked. "Don't tell me that's all you've got. I've been looking forward to this fight. Don't disappoint me." "Then let me show you," Goku growled, "what an insect can do when it has nothing left to lose." Goku's fury exploded. He unleashed a direct, devastating punch into the Grand Priest's abdomen. The Grand Priest coughed up blood and staggered. "That wasn't a bad hit. So this is your true power." Goku didn't answer. His breathing was ragged, but his eyes never left the Grand Priest's face. "This is only the beginning." The angels trembled. One of them whispered, "If he gets serious, I don't even want to see what his power will be like at 100%. I don't want to die here." Another angel murmured, "Lord Grand Priest is bleeding. I never thought I would see this day." Zeno's small hand trembled at his side. He looked between the two fighters, his childlike face unusually still. Goku lowered his head, then slowly looked up. His eyes burned with fury as the green ground shattered like broken glass. The Grand Priest wiped the blood from his lip and straightened his posture, his expression darkening. "Very well, Saiyan. If you wish to die fighting, I will grant you that small mercy." "I'm not here to die," Goku said, his voice low and steady as the storm raging around him. "I'm here to make sure no one else has to." Terrified, Zeno gathered his courage and screamed. No one heard him. Whis looked at Zeno with disappointment and said, No one can even sense your presence anymore, Zeno. The forces at work on this planet are beyond comprehension. What irony! After all your rank and status, look at the pitiful state you have fallen into." Zeno's tiny voice trembled. "Zeno, make it stop. I don't want to watch anymore." Whis didn't turn to look at him. "This is no longer something even you can stop, Zeno. You wanted a game. This is what a real game looks like." Blow after blow, every strike tore through space itself. The angels were hurled away by the overwhelming shockwaves. One angel, barely holding himself up, muttered, "This isn't a battle anymore. This is the unmaking of reality itself." Zeno's father watched the battle with fascination, his eyes fixed on the clash between the two warriors. A faint, unreadable smile crossed his lips. "So this is what true strength looks like," he said quietly, to no one in particular. "Not given, earned through suffering." Goku broke through the Grand Priest's defense and unleashed a single, irreversible punch. It was a blow filled with oppression, exile, blood, the Saiyan race, and vengeance. "This is for every planet you erased without a second thought," Goku roared as his fist connected. The impact split space itself. Both fighters crashed downward together, smashing through layer after layer of the ground, falling into the endless void before slamming into a gigantic crystal-like rock deep beneath the surface. Beneath the palace, Gohan fought with unmatched ferocity. The remaining angels and the three gods of destruction were putting tremendous pressure on him. "Is this really all the great Son Gohan can do?" one angel sneered, pressing his attack. Gohan gritted his teeth, refusing to fall back. "You don't know what my father taught me. Giving up was never an option." Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted above them. Goku and the Grand Priest crashed down from the sky like twin meteors of light. Gohan's eyes widened. "Dad!" The angels cried out in panic. God of Destruction Kratella shouted, "Wait, did you all see that? Someone actually fell from the sky together with the Grand Priest, or am I losing my mind?" Belmod staggered backward, struggling to keep his balance. This battle has surpassed every level imaginable. Beerus stood frozen in shock, as if he had completely lost the will to resist. He whispered in a fading voice, "If the Grand Priest can't defeat him, then this will be the end of all of us." Quitella's voice cracked. "Beerus, say something else. Tell me this is still a battle we can survive." Beerus said nothing. His silence answered the question better than any words could. Goku slowly rose to his feet. The Grand Priest stood up as well. His purple aura grew denser and denser, but something different burned within his eyes. In a transformed voice, he said, "Only now am I beginning to enjoy this. Do you want to witness my true power?" Goku answered with a merciless smile, "I'm not finished yet." The Grand Priest's aura pulsed violently, cracking the crystal beneath their feet. "Then let us finish this, as it should have ended from the very beginning." At the top of the palace, Zardok shouted toward Zeno's father, "You creature consumed by rage, I'll come for you in just a minute. I know you respect the laws of battle, don't you?" The being gave no reply. Instead, dark smoke began rising from his body, revealing the fury he had been suppressing. Zardok's smile faltered ever so slightly. "So it's true. The anger inside you has no bottom." At the eastern edge of the platform, Bardock was still in shock. In the reflection of the golden crystal, he saw a shadow drawing closer. It was Zardok, walking calmly across the shattered stone. Bardock forced himself to look up, his voice trembling. "You," Bardock said, gripping the broken ground beneath him. "You were there, the day everything was taken from us." Zardok's calm expression never wavered. "Memories are a luxury for the living, Saiyan, and you won't be alive much longer to hold on to them." Bardock's father. As he drew closer, Bardock looked up. A glowing tear rolled down his cheek. "Father, you're really alive. I thought you were gone forever." Zardok's eyes softened for just a moment before hardening again. "Death could never hold me, my son. Not while there was still a debt left unpaid to this universe."
Zardok placed his hand on the celestial ring surrounding Bardock and shattered it as if it were made of glass. Then he spoke with unwavering determination. The final moment has arrived. The era of the true Saiyans begins now. Father, all these years, Bardock's voice cracked. I thought our entire bloodline was erased. I thought I failed everyone. You failed no one, Zardok said firmly. You survived. That alone was your victory. Without a moment's hesitation, Bardock rushed forward and embraced his father, tears streaming down his face. A few seconds later, Zardok walked toward Vegeta. He placed his hand on the block of ice imprisoning him and began speaking an ancient language that had vanished millions of years ago. The ice shattered like a mirror.
Vegeta emerged engulfed in an explosive aura of rage. Though frozen, he had witnessed everything. I'll kill that witch for what she did to me. Then he noticed the towering figure of Zardok standing before him. Wait, who are you? Someone who has waited far longer than you can imagine for this day, Zardok replied calmly. Without turning around, Zardok kept his eyes fixed on the throne of the terrifying being and declared, Rise, new Prince of the Saiyans. The fate of the universe will not wait for your anger. Vegeta clenched his fists. I don't take orders from strangers. Then take it as a warning instead, Zardok said. Every second you waste on pride is a second closer to your race's true extinction. Then he pulled out a pair of ancient golden earrings, the very first version, the legendary pair, forbidden even to the angels. He handed one earring to Bardock and the other to Vegeta. Vegeta's eyes widened. That's the original legendary earrings. I've heard legends of these, Bardock murmured, staring at the earring in his palm. I never thought I'd live to hold one. Bardock placed a hand on Vegeta's shoulder. There's no time to be surprised. The moment our father steps away, that monster will come to take our heads. Vegeta scoffed, but there was no real defiance left in his voice. Fine, but don't expect me to enjoy sharing power with a low-class soldier. Enjoy it or not, Bardock said. Right now, we don't have the luxury of choice. Vegeta raised one hand. Bardock raised the other. The earrings were placed on their ears. A colossal burst of light exploded across the battlefield. From within that overwhelming radiance, a new warrior was born. Baron. A fusion unlike anything ever witnessed in any era. His black eyes gleamed with golden light, and his aura raged like a cosmic storm. Zardok looked upon the fused warrior with quiet satisfaction. Two prides, one purpose. This is what the Saiyan race was always meant to become. Despite his own injuries, Whis watched the scene carefully. Regaining his composure, he spoke in a firm voice. You have become unbelievably powerful, but beware of my aunt Illyra. She is truly terrifying. Baron's voice came out layered, both Bardock's and Vegeta's tones merging into one. Power means nothing if it isn't tested. Bring her to me. Whis's expression tightened slightly. Careful what you wish for, fusion warrior. My aunt does not lose. Far below, beneath the palace, Goku and the Grand Priest planted their feet firmly on the ground. Silence filled the battlefield. No more screams, no more explosions, only the heartbeat of the universe itself, as if it were hesitating to continue. The golden crystal ground groaned, not under pressure, but out of fear. The Grand Priest stared at Goku for a moment before slowly stepping back, creating a vast distance between them. You've earned this much, Saiyan, he said quietly. Few have ever forced me to consider other options. Calmly, he raised one hand and summoned a strange sphere of energy. With a single motion, he slammed it into the ground. The entire universe trembled. The crystal-like rock cracked apart as though existence itself were being torn open. Glowing pink symbols appeared in the air. Then, from deep beneath the earth, gigantic portals emerged. Covered in ancient, primitive metal with terrifying designs, they slowly opened, releasing a haunting groan that pierced through everything, a scream from a creature trapped between worlds, born and dying at the same time. Goku instinctively stepped back.
What? What is he doing? Goku muttered, his hands trembling for the first time in the entire fight. He felt a fear greater than anything he had ever experienced. It wasn't fear of death. It was fear that reached into his very soul. Gohan whispered, his voice trembling. What is that? Several angels fell to their knees. One of them gasped, "No, he wouldn't. Not this. Anything but this." Beerus struggled to breathe, his heart pounding as he realized that this entity should never have been summoned. This can't be happening. Not even destruction itself should ever wake that. Even the other gods of destruction, who had remained unfazed throughout the battle, despite witnessing worlds on the brink of destruction, suddenly realized their strength meant nothing anymore. Belmont's voice shook. All this time, we thought we understood power. We understood nothing. At the top of the palace ruins, Whis felt a sharp pain in his heart, as though an ancient bond had suddenly been severed. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He understood that the end had come, not just for himself, but for the entire order of his family and brothers. Whis spoke quietly. So, this is truly the end. What cruel irony. Am I really going to die here, at the hands of my own father? He closed his eyes, memories flooding him. All those years of service, of loyalty, and it ends like this. Below the palace, just before the Grand Priest stepped toward the portal, he turned around and looked at his children. By then, every battle, including Gohan's, had come to a complete stop after Goku's arrival. Even the wind itself had fallen silent. For the first time, the Grand Priest spoke with a gentle voice, unlike anything they had ever heard. A tear slipped from his eye.
I'm sorry, my children. I have no other choice. Father, Whis' voice broke completely. There's always a choice. There has to be. The Grand Priest shook his head slowly. Not anymore. Not after what has already been set into motion. At that moment, hearts that had never known they could break shattered. Some understood. Others simply collapsed in despair. Others wept during their final moments, while some had already given up all hope just before time itself came to a complete stop. Then he turned toward Goku, who stood frozen in place, his heart pounding violently. With a terrifying smile, he calmly said, "Wait for me. I'll be back in a few moments." For the first time in his life, Goku realized those words were not a threat. They were a death sentence. "No, don't do this," Goku forced out, his voice barely above a whisper. "Whatever you're planning, stop it now." The Grand Priest didn't even turn back. "It's already far too late for pleading, Saiyan." "You still have a choice," Goku shouted, taking a step forward despite his trembling legs. "You always had a choice." The Grand Priest paused for just a moment, his back still turned. Choices are a privilege for those who haven't already seen how this story ends. Then he stepped into the portal and disappeared. The moment the portal swallowed him, the catastrophe began. The angels started disappearing one by one, their bodies vaporizing into celestial dust. They screamed, they cried, they were violently dragged toward the portals, desperately trying to hold on to anything or anyone. One angel reached out toward another, sobbing, "I don't want to go. I don't want to disappear like this." The other could only whisper back, "None of us have a choice anymore. I'm sorry." A younger angel cried out toward the sky itself, as if hoping someone might still answer. "Please, someone, anyone, make this stop." No one answered. Eventually, even those high above, including GUYzzzz, began to dissolve and disappear as though their existence had always been temporary.